Hi, I'm Andrea. Thanks for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm standing on a mat. If you don't have one, don't worry. Just find a place, maybe a carpeted area that's not too slippery. I am going to recommend that for this practice, you have a chair. So that's something that, although usually it's optional, I think we're really going to use it today. A couple of blocks if you have them. If you don't, then thick books will work just fine. And I do have a folded blanket. Your big giant beach towel or throw blanket from your couch is going to work just fine. Once you've got those things, let's get started. In Tadasana mountain pose, feet hip distance. Let your arms come along your sides. Turn your palms away from each other. Allow that to happen at the shoulder joint so you feel a smile to your collarbones. There's a soft bend in your knees. Nothing about this practice is sharp or harsh. It's soft and fluid. And then take this opportunity here in the bedrock of all poses, our mountain, to stop so that we can start. Try, if you can, to breathe just through your nose and to elongate your inhale and your exhale, not dramatically. Just get as full an inhale as you can and as full an exhale as you can. Let that be enough just for a moment. Planting the seeds of awareness so that they can blossom and bloom as we go. Notice that even balance with our 2 feet on the ground has a little bit of subtle movement to it. And subtle is everything in this practice. Like I said, it's not a practice of extremes. It's really a movement meditation. From our mountain, we will grow a tree. And that might be the first moment that we use our chair. So I'm going to turn my chair so that I've got the tall back of the seat to use just in case. And then I will return to my mountain, hip distance, soft little bit of bend in my knees, beautiful posture as I think, ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. And from here, shift your weight onto your left foot. Already, balance is getting a bit different. Hug that outer left hip in. Take your right leg out in front of you, and from the hip joint in, you can actually take your right hand onto your hip, turn that right foot out. So it's happening at the hip. You can nerd out a little bit and feel that happening in the hip joint, but do hug that outer left hip in. And then tree pose, either a kickstand with your foot on the ground to the inside of your left ankle, or you can start to bring that up to the calf. There might be 1 or 2 of us who actually take it up into the thigh. I'd prefer that you not have it right on top of your knee. And remember, this is not a practice of extremes. So for some of this is extreme and not where we want to take it. Right arm out to the side, thumb to the sky, V shape. And then you can be playful, and playful is key, around your left hand. Maybe it comes off the back of your chair for a moment. You do need that left hip hugging in, or else that left arm will not be able to reach to the sky, which is no big deal. We're just trying. It might be a windy day in your tree. It is apparently for mine, a little gust here and there. It happens. There's gusts of wind in life, and then if we wobble, we climb back up into our tree, don't we? Bring your left hand onto the back of your chair if it's not, and then turn your right knee forward and stand back into your mountain and pause. Now you can just move to the other side of your chair. I'm going to, for the sake of camera moves, move my chair instead so that I can still see you when you can see me. And then let's stand in our mountain once again. This time, my chair does not want to cooperate. This time, it's the right leg that we're going to stand onto, and your right hand is on the back of your chair. Take your left hand onto your hip, find the majesty of your mountain, and then begin to shift the weight into that right foot. But do hug that right hip in. Left leg out in front of you, turn it out, and feel that happen in the hip. So again, I don't know, these are the things that really excite me. Turning it a few times so that you feel the origin. It's not just your ankle. You really get that it's the whole leg. And then a kickstand of your left foot in the inside of your right heel, still outer hip hugging in, yeah? And then you situate it, the shin, maybe a couple of us to the inner thigh. So this is not a goal, it's just an option. And the joy of yoga is that we meet ourselves where we are right now. Now, left arm can go out to the side, thumb to the sky. It's like the branches of our tree expanding, playfully, silly good fun. Just see if you can take your hand off the back of your chair. Probably one side's a little easier to balance than the other. It's just how we are. And then if it seems that it's not too gusty, you could take your right arm out to the side as well. Smile and breathe and do your best. You can always return your hand to the base of the chair, and just remember, these postures are yoga because we add breath and awareness. They're just shapes, like our life changes shapes. Take your right hand to the base of your chair, left hand onto your hip, turn your left knee forward, and then step hip distance and into your mountain. Now, move your chair off to the side. Some of you will be using your chair in a moment for a couple of things. But right now, step to the long edge of your mat. Take your arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. So we step basically as wide as ankles underneath wrists. We will probably need to refine that as we go. Now remember the nerdiness of turning our leg out. Put your hands on your hips. Think of that tree pose nerdy moment we shared, and turn your right leg out. Cheat your back, heel back, and bend your front knee. Now, if your knee is forward of your ankle, it just means you need to go a little wider with your stance. Usually it takes a little adjustment. With your hands on your hips, we're not trying to square our hips to the side. They're going to be at a diagonal that's healthy. That's great. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. If ever you feel that you want or need to straighten and rebend your front leg, then that's what you do. Now, that front leg is basically in tree pose. We just happen to be standing on it. So you want to let that right thigh bone move to the right instead of letting the right knee collapse towards the left. Yeah? So, or wait, I've got that backwards. Right knee towards the right, not towards the left. Yeah. And then over here, forearm across the thigh. Right forearm across the thigh. Keep your left thumb to the sky. And now you can kind of gently convince that right thigh bone towards the right. Take a moment just like this. Now, I don't want any shoulder compression at all. So keep your thumb to the sky. And it might go a little higher to the ceiling, but if you're starting to feel anything that is compressed in your shoulder, you could take the arm behind your back or just keep the arm out to the side. You do you. We have a few more moments here. You're doing great. Side angle pose is what this is called, if anyone were to ask. 2 more moments. You're still not collapsed into the right shoulder or squished into the left shoulder. Take your left hand onto your hip, bring yourself all the way upright, let your front legs straighten and turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. And then turn your left leg out, right? Our nerdy thing like in our tree pose. Cheat your back, heel back about 45 degrees. Keep your hands on your hips and bend your left knee, so bend your front knee. Remember, hips are staggered at a diagonal. You're not trying to square them. Once you kind of feel like you've landed in it, you've planted the seeds of your foundation, blossom your arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. You're thinking left thigh bone to the left, not letting that left knee collapse to the right. I believe I got it correct on this side. It happens, you know. And then left forearm across your thigh, right arm will continue to reach as it is. And there's this tiny little suggestion of left thigh to the left with your left forearm. We're very cautious not to collapse and squish into that left shoulder. So there's sort of a karate chop. And you can drift the right arm to the sky, but the thumb stays to the sky. And there's no pinching or compression in that shoulder either. It's sort of like you're doing tree pose, but standing on your tree pose leg. And you can rotate your bottom ribs to the sky a little bit. And then just enjoy a few moments here, a few breaths in our side angle pose. Last few moments just like this. Remember, it's all a movement meditation. Can you swim into the meditation a bit here? Right hand on your hip, firm through your feet and your belly, come upright, straighten your left leg, and turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. Now heel toe, your feet together, because we've got some proppage to get really straight with. Now, I am going to, for this first part, use my tall blocks. And then there's a couple of, I think, really fun things that we're about to do. And with those fun things come a lot of different options for props and even for what you decide to actually do. My blocks are tall and they're at the two short edges of my mat. If you want to use a chair, we're going to do triangle pose first. Then you can place your chair right in the middle of your mat. And I'll actually do that for you or with you so that I give you all the various ways that this next part might go. So I am all propped up. I got everything ready. And maybe you have all of the choices available to you too. Step your legs wide, thumbs to the sky. Bring your hands onto your hips, just like we did with tree pose. Turn your right leg out. We did it with our warrior pose too. Cheat your left heel back. Now, either with your tall block or with your hand on the base of your chair, first lean out. So this is not a side bend. You want to really reach long. Let your left hip go along for the ride a little bit of sass out of that left hip. And then right hand on your block or on the base of your chair. Left arm out to the side and then up to the sky. Now keep it a hip hinge and keep breathing. Stay with it. Notice that we don't want to have a collision of shoulders and ears here either. So if you think of spinning your inner upper arms away from each other, that will help. Now I want you to take note of your front foot, and that's always the case in triangle, but I've got tricks up my sleeve for the next part. And that's going to require that you have a pretty decent awareness of that front foot. So we may as well start that project now while we're here close to the ground. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to levitate, but if you can, please leave a message in the chat. Let me know how I can evolve my practice that way too. Last couple moments. And then firm through your belly. Take your left hand onto your hip and bring yourself all the way upright. Turn all your toes to face the long edge of your mat. Find our nerd out. Left hip turns out, so the foot faces the short edge. back hip or back foot, pardon me, at a 45-degree angle. And then it's a hip hinge. We're not going side flexion. You lengthen out and you either place your hand on the base of the chair so you can move the chair so that it's a little bit better located. I don't think I did that on the first side. And I'll actually use my chair for this one. Right arm out to the side, thumb to the sky. Now, it's a straight-legged pose, but you don't want to hyperextend, which is like basically where I was a moment ago, overly straightening. So press into your left big toe mound, activate the muscles of your feet and your calf. And remember, we're really aware of that left foot. And you might remember our tree pose days not long ago when we started and we were balanced on just one leg. Imagine, like, what would it be like if my triangle were balanced on only one leg? I think I'm giving away the surprise a little bit. Spin the inner upper arms away from each other. Create space between your shoulders and your ears. Last couple of moments here. Right hand onto your hip. Firm through your feet and your belly. Come all the way upright. Turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. Heel toe, heel toe. Now this is where the prop edge gets thick. I am going to show you with a chair. Some of you might be able to do this next bit with your block. Actually, I'll try to show you both. So the chair is now going to want to be a little closer to the right short edge of your mat. So I'm trying to figure out how I can do this with multiple options and props at the same time. My block is at the ready, so I can show you there. My chair is towards that right long or short edge of my mat. Now we'll come back to our position that we were in triangle. So we were kind of rehearsing things in triangle a moment ago. Turn your right leg out like our nerdiness. Turn your left heel back. And then remember, hip hinge for our triangle. Now either hand on your block or hand on the base of your chair. Remember that we want to make sure it's not a locked out leg. And then from here, we're going to experiment with trying to do our triangle on one leg. So if you have a block, move your block about a foot out in front of your right pinky toe. Take your left hand onto your hip, and then just see if you can float that back leg. It might be wobbly like our tree pose. And remember, gusts of wind happen in life. And when they do, we just step back in. Now, maybe you need to kind of move your triangle back so that you have your hand where it's optimal for you to try to lift that back foot, that back leg, and then take yourself into half moon, it's called. You could take your left arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky, or keep your hand on your hip. So play with it a little bit. From your triangle, just see if you can float. Maybe it is that you're levitating. I look forward to seeing your notes in the chat about that. And then just do your best. Hug that right hip underneath you. That's an anchor. Explore balance on that one foot. Do keep breathing. Just hold the pose. Don't hold your breath. It might take a couple of attempts. You might come up, it comes back down again, and up you go. And we're just playing. We're crazy kids playing with balance, planting seeds and watching them bloom. Now come back to your triangle slowly. So bend your right knee, touch down with your left foot, and get situated. And then hands onto your hips, come all the way upright. Turn your toes towards the long edge of your mat. We may need to situate a lot of props. I know in my world right now, right here, I'm gonna have to heel toe my feet together, move my chair. So please take your time with it. There's no rush. We wanna set ourselves up for success. So now I've got my chair like pretty much where I think I want it. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. I'm as wide as my arms with my legs. Left leg turns out. Right heel cheats back. It's a hip hinge for triangle. And my triangle is just going to mean that my hand's a little further forward. so that I can get into that half moon situation pretty easily. And now it's just fun. Right hand on the hip, bend your left knee, look down. I have to hop my foot a little bit forward, my right foot, and move my hand on my chair a little bit and hug the left hip underneath me even more. And then I just see if I can find a way to float. And again, it might like come down and back up again, and all that's fine. If you look at the ground, that's going to be a little easier to balance. If you feel like you're pretty much a half moon superstar, you can look out to the side, and then remember floating your right arm up to the sky if you want. Let it wobble and fall and come back up and have a giggle. We want to remember how to play even when we're serious adults, you know? Take a few more moments where we are. You're doing great. You can always just stay in triangle also. We all return to triangle. So right hand on your hip, step it back into your triangle. Use the base of your chair for some balance. Firm through your feet and your belly. Come upright, turn your toes to face that long edge. Heel toe. And then we've got some housekeeping to do before our next part. So move all of your props out of the way. You can take your 2 blocks to the front short edge of your mat. Whoops. I'm knocking things over. I'm a klutzy housekeeper. And then seat of the chair can face you. Come to the front edge, feet hip distance. A sun salutation to take us down to the ground. Inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands onto your thighs. Inhale your heart forward and either use the base of your chair or use your 2 blocks to bring yourself down onto the ground. So even our transition, maybe even especially our transitions, are mindful. And we just came out of a really advanced transition from triangle into half moon. Find your folded blanket. I'm going to suggest that most of us probably are going to want to use this. It's possible that you're going to actually want to sit on your block or big, thick book. Once you've got something to sit on, take your legs wide out to the side, as if you were doing triangle with both legs at the same time. Now, what I don't want is for this to look like this, right? So you want to find something. If you sit up on something, it's going to help you grow tall in the spine. You also might want a little bit of bend in your knees. There's no shame in that. It's a great way to do this. So you come up with your legs extended out to the side, and we sit tall. Curl your toes back towards you. So that can have bend in the knees. You could be seated up on a block or even a couple of blocks. And then just let your hands come to your thighs and think about our sun salutation a moment ago, where you pressed into your thighs and made a long spine. And see if you can translate that into this new shape. And remember, the shapes are yoga when we add breath and awareness. Most of us are going to have plenty of sensation here, lots of stretch. It's tough to just sit up straight here. There might be a couple of you who take your tall blocks and just walk a little bit forward, but it needs to be the hip hinge that we spoke of in triangle and that we find in our sun salutations. And remember, not that rounded shape that I just showed you from the side. And then I'm going to let you drift off into some silence. That will be the biggest stretch of all. Climb into your breath. Know that every one of us gets distracted and a little bit anxious from time to time. And let this be just like the balance that we found. You just climb back up. You climb back in when your mind wanders. No judgment. Just doing the best that you can. Stay with it 1 full minute more. You can do it. I know you can. Remind yourself that your mind wandering is just like wobbling in a standing pose. Forgive yourself for the wobble or the mind wander. Come back in and be playful about it. There, you see, you did it. Full minute. Now, transitions, same mindfulness. Firm through your belly. If you're on blocks, come upright first. And make sure that your props are out of your way. Let's help this along. Hands to your outer thighs. Bend your knees, and then just plant your feet on the ground. And you might feel the aftermath, like that something was working. Come off of your perch, assuming that you are on one, and let that go carefully off to the side and out of your way. Keep your feet hip distance, lie down onto your back. Cactus your arms out to the side. Walk your feet as wide as your mat, and windshield wiper your knees over to the right. No sharp pain, just let it feel like a sweet little release before our Shavasana final meditation. And then bring it through center. And let both of your knees spill over to the left. Your windshield wipers go to the left. Pause. And then come down the middle and let your knees fall together. So gently lift your hips up just an inch. Let it be spacious as you release back down, and either stay here or extend one leg and then the other, and arms along your side. Final Shavasana meditation. You're welcome to close, maybe even cover your eyes here. You're welcome to stay here in your final Shavasana meditation as long as you'd like. If you're ready to start to transition back, wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe even take your arms and stretch them overhead, like you're stretching arms and legs in opposite directions, just waking up refreshed and renewed. Gather your knees into your chest and roll to either side. Help yourself along with your arms and come up to any comfortable way to sit. Once you're seated, palms up or down, and just pause to appreciate what you've blossomed, the balance that you've found. Take these seeds with you out into the world. Plant them so that they can grow. Take your practice off your mat and into your life. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. We'll do this again together soon.